this state senator Emil Jones III. Now he's out of Chicago, Illinois, out of Illinois, Chicago. He's a Democrat, and I'm not here to get in a discussion about what the Democrats do and the Republicans do as far as that, or who is the best, a political party of choice, because there's a lot of corruption, period, in the government. There, between the Democrats and the Republicans, there's a lot of backbiting, blaming, slinging mud back and forth. We see it daily, day to day, and this is not how our government is supposed to work or operate, but it does operate like this. And you see, because of the way it's operating, there's a lot of stuff going on that's not getting done, stuff that is getting done, a lot of mud slinging, a lot of things being focused on that don't need to be focused on. You know, a lot of laws being passed, and ones that shouldn't be passed are being passed, and the ones that should not be passed are being passed, and we see a lot of injustice going on. We see some confusion in the government. We see so much stuff that has happened and is still currently going on. And when you look at Illinois, I mean, no state is perfect. California gets a lot of backlash too, but Illinois, they talk about Illinois and how corrupt Illinois is, and they always tend to bring Chicago in it. And I'm not here to bash the Chicagoans in no shape, way, or form, but we see what Kimberly Fox participated in. We see they've talked about, the former president. They talked about him. It's just so much, and his wife. They talked about so many people doing some crooked stuff in Chicago, some crooked stuff. I mean, this is the stuff they keep talking about. So again, Chicago is out there, and here we are with another senator. Uh, and they're saying, now this is alleged. I'm gonna say alleged, but it's out here, public information, and it's saying that he is charged with red light camera bribery and lying to the FBI. And they said that the House Republican leader says Illinois Democrats are an organized crime family. No, are they? I don't want to, I can't say that. I mean, because we see a lot of organized criminal families out here and people that get away with stuff because they give immunity, and they might not be necessarily related to each other. But if everybody that gets on the stand and testifies on behalf of the prosecution, they granted immunity. That's a family of immunity to me. Anybody that participate in trafficking, and all this stuff we seen recently, you a family of some extortion, some trafficking, some distribution, some promoting, all this stuff. So we see it, and you don't have to be blood to be considered a family that's doing stuff that you shouldn't be doing. Now, let's get into this story about this man, this senator. Another Illinois state lawmaker faces bribery charges related to the red light camera industry. Now, if you know what the red light camera, is, they want to place these red light cameras up there to catch people. And they had it in California, and eventually they had to take it down because they said there was a lot of, controversy over it, and said it was a violation and all this other stuff. And some people even went to court and fought their tickets, and they won. So at the end of the day, that's what basically this is, wanting to put cameras up to catch speeders and all that kind of stuff. But some people said it was used for racial profiling and just all type of stuff. But it was a lot of different races that I'm aware of in California that were actually, their license plate was caught on camera. The license plate of the car was caught, and they even took a picture of you, and your face. It was an image of you, on camera as well. If you went through like a red light, or if you turned on red, or if you like went through the light while it was turning red, it was a yellow light, all types of stuff. There was a lot of controversy, I'll just say that, regarding the camera, the red light camera. Okay, so now they're saying that the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Illinois released a 3-charge indictment of State Senator Emil Jones III of Chicago, Democrat, Chicago, Tuesday. The first charge states Jones accepted benefits in exchange for opposing legislation that required the study of automated traffic enforcement systems located outside of Chicago and would limit any legislation regarding Illinois Department of Transportation study of and recommendations concerning red light cameras. So basically what they're saying is they're interfered in this, that he interfered to make sure that this did not happen, that there was no studies done, there was no you know, studies that would be done that could even suggest recommending that these red light cameras be placed. So he didn't want it to go any farther. Is basically what they're saying by stopping any discussions or anything like that, any recommendations. And they say he Jones corruptly solicited, agreed to accept, and accepted things of value from individual A. They don't list individual A, namely a $5,000 payment and money for individual B, who is not listed as well, intended to be influenced and rewarded in connection with a business transaction and series of transactions of the state of Illinois involving a thing of value of $5,000 or more, namely legislation in the Illinois General Assembly concerning the operation of red light cameras, the allegation state. $5,000 is not a lot of money to put your livelihood on the line. I'm going to say that $5,000 will disappear very soon in most people's hands, because most people that are getting $5,000 have bills to pay, mortgages to pay, and they have to purchase essentials. Sometimes you might have unexpected car repairs. It's a lot of stuff that go on. So $5,000 is not a lot of money to put your career and your livelihood and reputation and family, livelihood on the line and place them at risk. So I'm not saying that State Senator Emil Jones III did any of this, because it's alleged. But however, this is an indictment that has been brought down. And that doesn't mean, because you're charged, doesn't mean you're going to be found guilty, and doesn't mean you're guilty of the charges that they indict you on. We need to remember that as well. But this is what they're saying. So let's get back into it. The second count alleges Jones used a facility in interstate commerce, namely an email account and associated communication network operated by service provider Google, with intent to promote, manage, establish, carry on, and facilitate the promotion, management, establishment, and carrying on of an unlawful activity. That makes me go back and think about them other folks. Mm-hmm. Promoting. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Promoting. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Unlawful activity. You know what I'm saying. But anyway, yeah, I'm just saying, because it's so fresh in the mind. It's still fresh. About situations. I'll say that, and y'all probably know what I'm speaking about. The ones that follow, that case. But anyway, this is what they're saying: interstate commerce. Interstate commerce, and this email account. And why would you want to use an email account if this is true, Mr. Jones? Google gonna get you every time. Google is going to get you every time. Every time. You cannot use Google. It'll get you every time. Every time. Google is gonna get you. And they can go and search stuff. They can search it. It's just that simple. It's not very difficult when you're using Google. And I'm not saying any of the other ones are not difficult, but Google is like the main thing here, right? Okay, so count 3 alleges Jones did knowingly and willfully make a materially false, fictitious, and fraudulent statement and representation in a matter within the jurisdiction of the Federal Bureau of Investigations, that we know, as FBI. Now, when asked if he agreed to protect Company A and Individual A from legislation in the Illinois General Assembly concerning the operation of red light cameras in exchange for Individual A hiring Individual B, Jones said that he did not. The charge alleges. When asked if he discussed with Individual A how Individual A could contribute money to him without having to report that sum of money, Jones said that he had not. When asked if he knew how much money Individual A agreed to pay Individual B, Jones said that he did not. Senator President Don Harmon of Democrat Oak Park issued a statement. I have asked for and expect to receive Senator Jones' resignation from his leadership post and committee chairmanship, Harmon said. These are grave allegations. Members of the Senate and all public officials need to hold themselves to a high ethical standard for the public to have trust and faith in our work. Well, you know what? I wish somebody would speak on the judicial system like that and get that out there on behalf of us that have been speaking to hold them to a higher standard as well, the judicial system, because we see that that's failing. Our judicial system is failing. We see it. We see it's been failing. We see it's been hijacked by liberal feminine movements. The major one is the Me Too movement, and you have these all those little small other liberal feminist organizations. It's been hijacked by the Me Too movement judge, Me Too movement prosecutors, and they railroaded one man. They keep piling on charges, all additional charges. Why don't we have people stepping out? Because I know they're on social media. How come they're not stepping out to hold the judicial system to a high ethical standard? It's going to take the Supreme Court with Clarence Thomas, he is still on there, and the rest of them on there to do something about uh, our judicial system, because it doesn't seem like nothing's being done to hold those officials, officers of the court, to a higher ethical standard. And we have lost trust and faith in the judicial system. Where we thought we could have a little amount of trust that they will do the right thing, and they're not. So at the end of the day, we need people to speak up, that can say, you know what, the judicial system, the officers of the court need to hold themselves to a high ethical standard. And because they took an oath, they need to have them to recite that oath and be it reinforced, that they're going to do the right thing and they're going to be fair. Because again, we see a lot of stuff that's not being fair in the judicial system. We see it over and over and over. And, it's a shame. It's a shame. And then you have even, oh my God, let's move on. Illinois House Minority Leader Jim Durkin's office put out a list of 10 sitting or former elected Democrat state officials charged in federal court with public corruption from the past decade, including former longtime Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan, D. Chicago, who faces 22 federal counts of racketeering, bribery, fraud, and extortion in a scheme with utility ComEd to benefit personally for public actions. The Democrat Party of Illinois has become an organized crime family whose only purpose is to shake down Illinois taxpayers. Durkin, he's a Republic of Western Springs, said in a statement. Today's indictment once again shows Illinois residents why Democrats refuse to pass real ethics reform. They are too corrupt. Now, this is a Republican saying this, and we know that we're close to election, right? But we have to do our research in order to know, and we have to know about what's been going on right in Illinois, and especially Chicago or outside of Chicago. We have to know these things, right? Because we have a Republican speaking out. It's close to election, and so quite naturally they're going to say up on the bandwagon. They're going to say that the Democrat Party is, an organized crime. They're going to say whatever they need to say to look good and to shine the light on them and off of them. And I'm not saying, like I said, one way or the other to get into who's better, which political party is better. I'm not getting into that, but all I'm saying is election time is in November, and it's a big election. And guess what? People are going to come out and speak from the Republican side. Even the Democrats may say something because people want your vote. And don't let people fool you by voting for folks just because they speaking out, according to this. Because indictments don't necessarily mean that you are guilty. But if you do something that they suspect of, and that's why they brought the indictment, do they have some information that might be suspect, that they're leaning towards saying that you did it? And with these prosecutors, they're going to try to get you. If they bring it forward, they're going to try to get you. They're going to try to change wording in the end. They're going to try to manipulate laws. Be careful. Hope you got some good counsel, Emil Jones, because I don't know what you did. This is all alleged. What you really did. But reading the article, this is what they allegedly saying you did. But I don't know if you really did what the article is saying, or you truly are innocent and did not. And we supposed to say, yeah, innocent until proven guilty. But like I told you all in a few videos ago, that proven guilty stuff, man, they already have you guilty when you get to court of law. And it's like you gotta prove your innocence. And then if they don't prove your innocence, because the jury could be bought and paid for, then guess what? You're going downstream and you're going to be incarcerated until you can appeal your stuff appeal your case, not appeal your stuff, but appeal your case, you're going to be there. You're going to be there. And so he's saying all of this, this person from, Western Springs is saying that, and he's a Republican, and and everything. And so we can't get caught up in that. We have to look and study we have to study these constituents. We have to study the politicians that's running for office. And remember, we're supposed to pray for the former, the future, the current and the future ones that's going to be in office, and pray that God will give us discernment on to vote for the best person for humanity. You're not going to get everything you want when you vote, but you should know that there are people that you're voting for that care about the people, for the people, by the people, that they care about you in the as humanity. Because they're not going to give you individually what you want. And when you start to see some suspect, and if they can give you individually what you want, then there's a problem, because nobody should be getting individually what they want like that. But you will get some things, but we got to vote for the best candidate. And how do you do that? You start to read about these candidates before the election in advance. Don't go and look at their track record. Do they have a good track record? Or is it a bad track record? Did they do some things that's really, really, bad and questionable, and they can't come back from that? Things like that. You have to look at what laws are they willing to pass and the ones they're willing to block. I'm saying this because it's so important. We cannot go and vote for somebody standing there and start reading about them at the polls. We got to start reading about these individuals and looking at their backgrounds and going back, seeing what have they done to help the people. What have they done? Has it been effective? Has it been ineffective? Do they have some great, accolades out there that can show proof that they deserve those accolades? What can we do? Those are things that we can do. When I say what can we do, I've mentioned some things we can do, because there's going to be people to say, well, what do we do? Well, you got to go back and do your research. Don't take voting lightly. Voting should never be taken lightly. You shouldn't just put down any mark on a ballot. You need to take it seriously. It should never be taken lightly. You need to be serious about your business when you vote. There is a purpose in voting, and we need to start making our vote count, and we need to make sure that the purpose that our purpose is to make sure we get the best candidates in office. Okay, back to this. So, a sweeping probe into illicit elected official activity surrounding the red light camera industry was clear following the FBI raid of the late former state senator Martin Sandoval's office at the Capitol in Springfield in his legislative district in 2019. Before passing away in December 2020, so he passed away, continue to rest in peace though. Sandoval pleaded guilty and apologized for his actions. Jones, the son of former Senate President Emil Jones Jr., has been in office since 2009, taking his father's seat, who retired that year. So, that's a lot going on. And you have to make sure with these cameras, though, you have to make sure that these cameras, if they're ever placed, that they're placed in areas that do not discriminate, that do not racial profile, that they are placed in areas where they are trying to, decrease accidents, uh, deaths, and reckless driving. And there are, areas in each individual city, wherever you reside at, there are areas that have, the roads are driven. There's a high access of vehicles traveling those roads and those intersections. And you could have several major roads in your city, depending on how big your city is, right? How large your city is. And those cameras are to be placed in strategic areas that, when you do when you do traffic studies, because I had one out where I reside at, traffic study. And, traffic studies even decide if you will get a traffic light, because traffic lights have to be placed so many feet apart, right? And they see, the study looks at how much traffic goes down that road, what type of road or street or boulevard, if it is, if you will. They also look at the speed limit. A lot of things play into, placing a traffic light. And if you're going to place a red light, camera, it has to be placed in strategic, like I said, strategic areas where there's a lot of uh, vehicle activity that go on. Like, hey, how many accidents have happened here? How many deaths? Speeders running, and how many red lights are being ran? And people are speeding through the light. They're not slowing down. Things like that. And also, cameras can catch what you're doing on the corner. If you standing there waiting across the street, they can see you standing at a corner, waiting to cross as a pedestrian. Also, if that's a corner where drugs is being used, then believe me, that camera more than likely might catch what you're doing. So the traffic lights do a lot. And so if you're going to interfere in that, something is not right with that, because you seem to me that you should, that's something that they can study, and if it's not meant to be there, it shouldn't be there. But if it is, why interfere in just the study of it? It might not have passed anyway. Because when you sit down at the table and put your heads together and start talking and bringing information, and you're bringing information, you're talking about this and that, information, and you're productive while you're meeting other minds at those tables or meetings or offices or wherever you are meeting at, you should be able to come to um, a resolution, or come to uh some type of collectively, something that you either are going to or you're not, or it requires more study, more extensive studying done, you know extensive more studying done, or is the wording too broad if you write it up and say that it needs to be there, or what is going on that you would have to interfere, and this is allegedly interfere, and just talks about it. um and who is individual A and B? Who are those people? What did they have to do with, especially A, on why that they were so against, studying it or just even talking about it? Um, but there's a lot that goes on. And you need to also have updated traffic studies. Don't be trying to pull no 10-year-old traffic study out of the bag. And and traffic studies are expensive as well. They can be very expensive. And sometime, as when you're a citizen and you don't agree with certain things, especially if you're trying to get a traffic light, or they can even close off your street, like close off not necessarily your street, but they can close off, like if you exit out of a street and you want to make a left hand turn, to go to a major road or expressway, you know they can close that off, and you'll have to turn right to go up to a light and make a U-turn to get to the major road. Different things like that. So it's important to know, it's important to know about these things. But at the same time, we have seen and heard a lot about, Illinois, Chicago, and how it's been a lot of corruption, and even from older people, older than me, my elders, you know, which I respect, my elders have talked about Chicago for a long time and what happens outside of Chicago, because they said this is outside of Chicago that he was doing this. But he's a Democrat of Chicago and he's a state senator. But a lot of stuff, and I go back, Kimberly Fox, to me, is corrupt. He is an individual that should not hold office, and they should have be investigating her. I truly believe that she should be investigated if she's not. But a lot of times people get caught up in voting for people of, because of the color of their skin. Well, I'm going to say this. We need to vote for folks that is going to do the right thing. We do. And I understand the oppression and the enslavement. I understand the mentality of that. And we want to vote because there's been a lot of oppression and, discrimination and racism. I understand all of that too, but we should start voting for, really, we should vote for people that are going to be, do the best, do the best by the people for the people, not voting for someone because of a certain political party, or voting for someone because of the color of their skin. We should vote for people that have a good track record. And now some people may not agree with me, but let me tell you something. Uh, I'm going to tell you that we're never going to get ahead if we keep putting people in office that are, really don't have a good track record, and we're only voting because of the color of their skin or because they look like us. We shouldn't be voting. I don't feel, in my opinion, that anyone should get in office because of that. They should get in office because they have a good track record. They are an ethical person. They are doing the right thing. They've done the right thing in the past. They have a good track record, and their track record, record can be proven. That's who should be voted in office. And we should start holding the people that they get in office and hold them accountable. Because sometimes they get in office and they falter, they succumb to temptation, they succumb to their peers, and they succumb to going along to get along, the go along, get along game. They do, and when they get in there, you like, I voted this person, had a good track record, blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden, what happened? And we understand one person can't fight alone, but you have to be an advocate in your community. You can't just get in office and never come and speak in your community and step in to care about the community, to do right by the people in the community. You have to be able to listen. You have to still be that advocate, activist advocate that you were to get in office. You have to still be that beacon of hope and light, you know, uh, when it comes down to when people vote for you. Now, do I put my trust in these politicians? No, I put my trust in God. But we also have to be smart about this. We can't just vote these people in office without no discernment, without any background history on them, checks like vetting their information, who they are, where did they come from, and what is their background, and what are they going to do for the people that's going to be fair when they pass laws. Are they going to pass laws that's for humanity, for the good of people, or are they going to be passing laws that's one-sided? Are they going to be passing laws that are going to harm majority of Black people? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm keeping it real, people. We have to look at these things. So I encourage everyone that plan on voting in the November election that you will do your research, you will vet the information, you will go back and do background checks. You will not wait till the last minute to gather information about candidates that you plan on going to the polls, or even your mail-in ballot that you plan on voting for, or you're not sure. So if you're not sure, start your research now, because we got to start voting for people that's going to do the right thing. Because we know that there's people in office, even in the courts, and we have to look at, this is another thing too that came out a lot with the R. Kelly case. So this case, studying this case and listening and learning about it also helps you to determine who's putting these judges on the bench. That's another thing. And we have to start looking at these judge backgrounds. We really do, because we got to go back and look at these judge backgrounds, because it be judges on these ballots too. Because in June there was some judges on the ballot and district attorneys on that ballot. Prosecutors, was on the ballot in June. The preliminaries, and so you have to look at these judges' background. How many cases have they, cases where they have ruled over the sentencing, and the prosecutor, how many cases that they have gotten convictions on, and were those convictions questionable. Man, I could go on and on about things, and I've learned so much, because I'm always ready to learn. I'm teachable, and I'm never going to say I know enough, because I do not. And I'm not afraid to say what I don't know, but I'm always willing to learn. So at the end of the day, I learned a lot about what goes on. And there are some cases where where now you're hearing some past cases where prosecutors actually brought charges and indicted people, and they actually got guilty pleas where the alleged, like, the person facing trial the individual actually pled guilty, how many plea bargains, and then how many really were, that were found guilty on those jury panels, you know, jury seats, but they were truly innocent. And you see how a lot of black men are being released from prison with the Innocent Project and things like that are being released because they were truly innocent from the beginning, but because there are prosecutors that change wording, the police reports were, not up to par, not done correctly, or if information was withheld or suppressed, or even the report was written in a, written, and there was untruth statements made in those police reports. And so you got to look at anybody that you're going to put in office: prosecutors, judges, district attorneys, assistant district attorneys. You have to look at all of these people and vet the information and see, because if you vote for a judge that and you didn't do your homework, and it's not just, you have to not just these big names like the president and the senators and all that. You have to also look at judges and all that, like I just said, because you could be putting a prosecutor in office that is biased, a judge that is biased by looking at their track record and their past cases that they have been a part of in the judicial system. And our judicial system should never be one sided. And we've seen so much of that going on where our judicial system, where the scales in the judicial system are one sided. And that should not be the case. And so, with that being said, you all, I want to thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like the video, share the video, and if you have stopped by my channel and you're not a subscriber, give it an opportunity to subscribe to the channel. But we got to get the information out there. So liking it, from what I understand, gets it in the algorithms. And when you share the video as well, share the video out there, because people do need to know. It's a lot of people that don't know. They just are not where they should be with knowledge, or just information that should be basic information. And I always say too, one other thing I'd like to mention. When I was in junior college, okay, um, when I was in junior college, I noticed that I learned so much in taking poli science, political science. And if you're pursuing a degree in that, good for you. But I had a very good professor. He taught at a university and he taught at the community college, the local college. And this was, before I pursued, my undergrad. But what I'm saying is that I learned a lot, and I learned just the basic. It's good to take basic political science, Poly 1, sociology 1. It is so good to take those classes, because if you don't understand the the system, the voting system and how it's done, and the history of the good old part, the GOP and all those things, and if you don't understand a lot of that, and the Boston Tea Party, if you don't understand that, you will have a hard time voting the way you need to vote to make it count, and be serious about your vote. you know, and do your research, study, these candidates and the constituent, do it, because you will learn so much. And I learned so much in that class. And I'm thankful. I mean, I'm not here to brag, but I'm thankful I got an A. I had a good professor, but I'm thankful. And even the people in our group, when we had to write our final paper, we worked in groups a lot. I'm thankful for the people that was in my group, because they all contributed something in a valuable way, and they were productive. And I'm gonna tell you something, because you can get in groups where people don't want to do the work. They will half behind do the work. And see, you got to do your work for you, but you also got to make sure the people in your group, you're holding them accountable too when they present the information. Because one person can make your group look bad when they get up in front of the class to do a presentation. But just the fact that if you haven't taken Poly 1, take Poly 1, man. Take it. It is very important. I only had to take Poly 1 because that wasn't my major, so I didn't have to take it, and that's not what what I was pursuing, in my undergrad. But what I'm saying to you is that it's good to take Poly 1. because you learn so much. And as a matter of fact, I still have my book, even though it's an old, outdated textbook now, but I kept it because it reminded me of going back and studying things and reading and understanding why it was so important and understanding, and reading my papers. I still got a paper that I can't even get rid of, uh, that is on a drive. And I'm like, and when I go and read it, I don't even want to get rid of it. I probably could delete it, but I think about the work that we did, and it just is a reminder for me of how far I've come. And the fact is you can go back and you think about how, you are thankful and appreciative of your good professors that care about you and want to see you succeed and want to see you move forward to a higher, degree. And they want to see you learn. And that's so important. And so when we talk about these things, it goes back to, do these politicians want to see us grow? Do they want to see the people do better and live a more excellent way? They've made it to where they are, and they might not even want to run for president, but they got to a place where they wanted to be, and somebody helped them get there. Well, I'm not gonna say all honesty that they got there under that legitimate claim, but people helped them get where they had to be. And sometimes these politicians forget where they came from and how people helped them grow, get through school, and campaign for them and donate money. And then they turn around and they let the people down. They fail the people in their states and in their cities. And we cannot let that continue to go on. So with that being said, you guys, God bless you all. Have a beautiful day.